I tell you that this girl was one of my very first internet friends that I met in person and was integral in helping me get past my own SHIT and stop thinking that I had to be a web designer and I had to do all of this stuff and go for the course market like I wanted to. I'm not even playing. Abigail Pumphrey from the Boss Project is getting ready to grace us with her presence. And if you have not ever followed the Boss Project or Abby, oh my gosh, so good. All the things you need for business, specifically if you're like a service-based business, she has it all. And I'm so pumped that she agreed to be one of my contributors, and she is going to blow your mind today, I promise. All right, without further ado, here's Abby.
Thank you so much, Jessica, for that warm introduction. I am so excited to be here and dive right in. Today, I specifically want to talk about marketing and how that changes based on the business model you're in. We're going to dive into how big does your audience need to be based on your model, and how niche does your offer or who you're talking to need to go. Now, how you market your business today distinctly needs to match the business model that you're in. And if you desire to add additional income streams over time, you will need to add additional marketing strategies that fit that model that you want to run in the future. Now, I see a lot of people who start and stop here. They are interested in adding a digital product or a group program to something they're already doing, and they put everything that's already worked for them down to start the new thing. And I want to encourage you and really have you focus on what has already given you so much success, and encourage you that if you desire to add these things, that these can be additions to what is already working and allow you to move into the model you want in the future. The first thing I want you to do is think of these business models as a spectrum, from one-on-one to one-to-many. And the more you go across the spectrum from one-to-one to one-to-many, the more people you are going to need in your audience. Now, why do you need more people in your audience as you grow? Well, for obvious reasons. If you're pricing yourself at a lower price to try to appeal to a larger audience, then you're simply going to, from a numbers perspective, need more volume in order to make the same amount of money. But I also want you to understand that conversion rates are distinctly different from one-to-one to one-to-many. If you are selling a service, you may see conversion rates as high as 60 or 75% or more. And in one-to-many, a typical conversion rate in this digital atmosphere is around 2%. But there's definitely ways to optimize in between and try a bunch of different strategies. But specifically, you're also going to need more volume of people watching what you do because of how it converts. Now, with all of that in mind, how niche do you need to go based on the model that you're in? Now, I want to put a huge caveat to say this is not the only way. I don't think there's one right way to market a business. I also don't think there's one right offer that fits this. I don't think there's one right industry or type of person to talk to. I think there's so many nuances, and you get to choose the combination that's right for you. This is distinctly based on my observations that I'm seeing in today's market and things I really want you paying attention to as you grow your own business. Now, when we're talking niche, we're talking both niche in who you're talking to and the offer itself. Okay, so I think those both can be really broad or really specific. And I want to talk about the relationships of those things based on the type of model that you're selling into. For a one-on-one based business or business model, your niche for both your offer and your audience should be fairly specific. Now, that being said, I think of the two, your audience should be significantly more specific than the offer itself. But let me offer some examples to give you some ideas of what I'm talking about here. The first one I want to talk about is a client of mine. She is a copywriter for healthcare professionals. Now, while she offers a variety of copywriting services, because it's for a fairly narrow audience, that audience will come to her for a variety of projects again and again and again. And she can offer different types of services that align with their needs based on the season they're in. Another client of mine does websites specifically for authors. Now, that is sort of like, again, a medium specificity for a little bit more specific of an audience. She could back it out to say anyone who writes copy or something even higher level than that. She could make it more niche by talking to just romance authors or talking to just science fiction authors. But designing websites just for authors in the world of web design is super specific. And so I also want you to be thinking about what is the industry you're in and how specific would narrowing to this level look from the outside looking in? When I started my first design agency years ago, I was doing branding, website design, and photo shoots specifically for food brands. Now, this was niche. This was definitely narrowing who I was talking to. It's not necessarily where I started though. When I started, I did what a lot of other small businesses who are starting one-on-one do, and I offered a variety of things to a variety of people. The only thing specific about it was that I was doing graphic design for business owners. But in terms of delivery, the solutions varied from branding to website design to backdrops for booths at a trade show to labels for packaging and everything in between. And the types of businesses were airplane part manufacturers, churches, other creatives in my local area, a restaurant, like so many things. And when I really started narrowing in on doing branding, websites, and photo shoots for food-based brands, while I still stayed fairly narrow in the Kansas City market, it was like magic. The people were coming to me again and again and again. And these people go in circles, right? They hang out with other people that are like them. And I was able to connect myself with a local, what we call an innovation kitchen. It's essentially a commercial kitchen that startups can rent. And because of that, there's a whole bunch of food startups all hanging out in the same place. Now, the guy who runs it, he and I became buddies. And as soon as a new food brand came in and started renting a space, if they started talking about, I need a website, I need packaging, I need blah, 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 I was his first recommendation again and again and again because they clearly knew what I did and who I did it for. If you run a hybrid based business where you are offering a variety of things to a variety of people, I want to talk about one offer at a time because it's really easy to talk about everything, but I want to focus in on one offer. And that one offer in comparison to one-on-one either needs to broaden the solution to make it a bigger problem, or it needs to broaden the audience, but not necessarily both. While you can absolutely broaden both the solution and the audience, those are things that are going to become hurdles in your sales process. So again, I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm not saying you can't sell it or that you won't sell it, but that will make it harder for someone to identify that it's for them. So I think having some level of specificity in either the solution or who it's for really makes a big difference in your sales process. Let's imagine for a minute that you are a consultant that helps someone write their book and publish your book and get it out into the world. Now, you could continue to do this one-on-one, or you could offer this as some sort of group program. But when you do that, I would either broaden that audience or broaden the solution. So maybe you were really specific on the type of author previously, and now in the group program, you still help someone get self-published and put themselves out there, but the audience you're talking to is for all authors, but the solution is still specific because you're trying to get them self-published on Amazon and get them ranking and like all of the nuancy things that make someone really connected to what it is that you're selling. I think kind of the reverse of that would be continuing to keep a specific audience. Like I have a friend who specifically talks only to other website designers. That's it. Only website designers, but her group program is pretty high level, and then it's helping you across a variety of issues in your business. It's helping you get booked out. It's helping you book $10,000 website projects. Like, it is not necessarily specific as to the solution. It's more of an all-in-one, I'm here to help you grow your business, but because it's specific to only website designers, people are like, that's for me. The only way you're going to get someone saying, this is for me in a group setting is if you've either made a super specific promise as to the type of result or the type of solution that you are offering, or you are consistently talking to that same person who feels, oh my God, she gets me. They understand what I'm doing. They understand my problems and the things that are going wrong in my business or in my world, and they want to help me improve my health, wealth, or relationships. You know, like, you can be broad as to how you show up for them, but you have to choose how niche you go in the hybrid world. Now, here's the thing. I've been selling in this online landscape for over 8 years, and I've offered all sorts of different things along the way. I've done one-on-one services. I've sold group programs that were over $10,000. I've had one-to-many offers that were $29 to over $2,000. I've run $1 million membership. So what I'm about to say is coming from experience and is something that I really want you to be thinking about because other people are not talking about it. Okay. Remember how one-to-many I said that you need to have a large audience, a large amount of people paying attention to what it is that you're doing? Now, I think people will go out there and say, like, being niche is great. And I don't disagree that niching has its place, but when you start selling one-to-many, it does make it challenging to reach your ideal audience. I have seen a lot of people struggle go from hybrid to one-to-many because they kept that audience too specific. And instead, I want you to be thinking about the closer you get to one-to-many, the more specific problem you need to be solving, but to a broader audience. If this is conflicting information, it's probably because you've consumed something that's a couple of years old. And I will say that selling an all-in-one solution to a large audience used to be something that worked in this online landscape. And it is harder and harder to sell because getting that organic reach is just not as viable as it used to be. And so if you want to get in front of more people, making it so that it's appealing to a broad spectrum of people, but solving a super specific problem is going to make it so much easier to sell. Now, the problem can also be not only more specific, but also more narrow. It doesn't need to be a huge problem. It can be a small problem, but you can come in and you can solve it well. That's why you see one-to-many courses on helping you go viral on Instagram Reels. But like, it's not for any one type of business. It's for any type of business, but we're only talking about Reels and getting reach and getting engagement. Like, it's one type of social media. Another example that's more in like the consumer market would be something like a sleep training course, where you are helping someone with an infant get them to sleep. You know, something that really targets that first 6 weeks of that baby being out into the world and all of those challenges that new mothers face. Well, this is going to appeal to any mom who doesn't have a sleeping baby, but it is a very specific problem. There's 1,000,001 things you could talk about when it comes to being a new mom or having an infant, but narrowing in on just sleep is pretty specific, and it's going to apply to a very broad spectrum of people. Now, if you found today's video helpful, I really encourage you to subscribe to this channel for more marketing tips for your business.